Article 3 Corporate Tax Rate. 1. Corporate tax shall be imposed on the taxable income at the following rates. A. 0% on a portion of the taxable income not exceeding the amount specified in a decision issued by the Cabinet at the suggestion of the Minister. B. 9% on taxable income that exceeds the amount specified in a decision issued by the Cabinet at the suggestion of the Minister. 2. Corporate tax shall be imposed on a qualifying free zone person at the following rates. A. 0% on qualifying income. B. 9% on taxable income that is not qualifying income under Article 18 of this decree law and any decision issued by the Cabinet at the suggestion of the Minister in respect thereof. Article 4 Exempt Person. 1. The following persons shall be exempt from corporate tax. A. A government entity. B. A government-controlled entity. C. A person engaged in an extractive business that meets the conditions of Article 7 of this decree law. D. A person engaged in a non-extractive natural resource business that meets the conditions of Article 8 of this decree law. E. A qualifying public benefit entity under Article 9 of this decree law. F. A qualifying investment fund under Article 10 of this decree law. G. A public pension or social security fund, or a private pension or social security fund that is subject to regulatory oversight of the competent authority in the state and that meets any other conditions that may be prescribed by the Minister. H. A juridical person incorporated in the state that is wholly owned and controlled by an exempt person specified in paragraphs A, B, F, and G of Clause 1 of this article and conducts any of the following. 1. Undertakes part or whole of the activity of the exempt person. 2. Is engaged exclusively in holding assets or investing funds for the benefit of the exempt person. 3. Only carries out activities that are ancillary to those carried out by the exempt person. I. Any other person as may be determined in a decision issued by the Cabinet at the suggestion of the Minister. 2. A person under paragraphs A, B, C, and D of Clause 1 of this article that is a taxable person insofar as it relates to any business or business activity under Articles 5, 6, 7 or 8 of this decree law, respectively, shall be treated as an exempt person for the purposes of Articles 26, 27, 38 and 40 of this decree law. 3. Persons specified in paragraphs F, G, H, and I of Clause 1 of this article, as applicable, are required to apply to the authority to be exempt from corporate tax in the form and manner and within the timeline prescribed by the authority in this regard. 4. The exemption from corporate tax under paragraphs F, G, H, and I of Clause 1 of this article, as applicable, shall be effective from the beginning of the tax period specified in the application, or any other date determined by the authority. 5. In the event that the exempt person failed to meet any of the conditions under the relevant provisions of this decree law at any particular time during a tax period, such person shall cease to be an exempt person for the purposes of this decree law from the beginning of that tax period. 6. For the purposes of Clause 5 of this article, the Minister may prescribe the conditions under which a person may continue to be an exempt person, or cease to be an exempt person from a different date, in any of the following instances. A. Failure to meet the conditions is the result of the liquidation or termination of the person. B. Failure to meet the conditions is of a temporary nature and will be promptly rectified, and appropriate procedures are in place to monitor the compliance with the relevant conditions of this decree law. C. Any other instances as may be prescribed by the Minister. Article 5 Government Entity. 1. A government entity shall be exempt from corporate tax and the provisions of this decree law shall not apply to it. 2. Notwithstanding Clause 1 of this article, a government entity shall be subject to the provisions of this decree law if it conducts a business or business activity under a license issued by a licensing authority. 3. Any business or business activity conducted by a government entity under a license issued by a licensing authority shall be treated as an independent business, and the government entity shall keep financial statements for this business separately from the government entity's other activities. 4. The government entity shall calculate the taxable income for its business or business activity specified in Clause 2 of this article independently for each tax period, in accordance with the provisions of this decree law. 5. Transactions between the business or business activity specified under Clause 2 of this article and the other activities of the government entity shall be considered related party transactions subject to the provisions of Article 34 of this decree law. 6. A government entity may apply to the authority for all its businesses and business activities to be treated as a single taxable person for the purposes of this decree law subject to meeting the conditions to be prescribed by the Minister.